friends, welcome to a Lovely Yarn podcast. My name is Amber. How are you all doing? It's a very gray, gloomy day here. We've had rain all morning and I was a little bit hesitant to film because it is harder to film in low light. Typically, I don't film unless it's a sunny day out, but now that I've been on my once a week filming schedule, I thought I need to figure out how to work around low lighting, because as we head into fall and winter, I'm definitely going to have some low lighting situations to have to work with. So I have a couple of light sources here behind me and I have a ring light in front of me, so we're just going to go with that and hope for the best. So yeah, let's just get started. I hope everyone can hear me okay. With both of my previous episodes, I had one person per video say that they could hardly hear me. I just wear these little earbuds as my microphone. I don't have an actual microphone. I am researching a clip-on microphone to use. But so if any of you other viewers are podcasters and you use a good, dependable clip-on like lapel microphone, let me know. I've used two different microphones in the past when have filmed, and neither of them have worked well. The one would always get like a staticky interference from my cell phone, which I film on my cell phone, so that just doesn't work at all, right? And then the other one, the sound would go in and out. So I'm all for purchasing and investing in a microphone, but I want to know it's going to work well, and I've read various opinions online when I've done my research. I have my window open, so you're probably going to hear some road traffic and maybe some birds, maybe some rain, because we've just been getting like these, it's just very gray out, but we'll just get a downpour and then it'll stop for a while and then it'll downpour again. So it's just like a very cozy day. This is how our day was yesterday as well. I actually lit a candle yesterday for the first time since winter, or maybe early spring. It was that kind of a day. And it's funny, it has felt very autumnal outside. Both Ian and Lily have been saying how it feels like fall, and I have to agree. They're both very excited about that because fall is both of their favorite season. But even now I can feel like you can probably see my ring light reflecting in my glasses, which is going to drive me crazy. So I'm probably going to have to pause and fix that. So I'll be right back. Okay, so let's try this again. I have the ring light off to the side now, and guys, we're just going to have to go with it because I don't have the fancy equipment to make spectacular like quality videos. If I did all of that, I feel like I would really lose the joy in podcasting because it would just feel much more produced, and it would probably stress me out. So we're just gonna go with it and yeah, hope for the best. So today I have one finished object to talk about, and I have 3 new cast-ons since did I film last Tuesday? I'm pretty sure I filmed last Tuesday. So 3 new cast-ons since last Tuesday, which is pretty amazing and kind of unheard of, but I'm really excited about all 3 of those projects. And then I have a little surprise at the end. I don't typically do segments on my podcast where I talk about yarn that I've purchased or acquisitions or whatever you want to call it, but today I do, and I'm really excited, and it's all your fault. You guys, you are such enablers, so we'll talk about that at the end. But let me just show you my only finished object for this week, and it is a pair of socks that I showed you last week, the morning coffee socks. Had to take a look there. So these are the morning coffee socks by Knit On Designs, and I bought this as part of a trio of patterns, and I had the first sock finished last time. I finished up the second sock last week, and so they're done, and I did block them. I don't typically block socks, but I blocked these because of just the way that the texture is. It just helped to block them, to really pull out that pull out that texture. So I knit these in Flower Hill Fleeces, Farmfresh Eggs for my main color, and then the contrast is a color that I don't remember the name because I don't have the tag, but it was a Cosy Posy Yarn Co. color, and I talked about that in the past. But these are done, and they're so beautiful. Really excited to wear them. I haven't even put them on my feet yet because I wanted to share them on here first. So this segues into my next project, which is one of my new cast-ons, and it is by Deb of Knit On Designs. It's another one of her patterns from the Coffee Sock Trio, and it is called the But First Coffee pattern. And I talked about this last episode, but I decided, so this is what I had left over after doing this pair of socks, and so I wanted to use this yarn to make a second pair of socks out of that trio of patterns. So this is what I have so far. This is But First Coffee, and it has this really pretty thick, nice thick texture on the top. So both of these pairs, or both of these patterns from her, the texture is only running down the top of the sock, which is nice. And these socks, because they are shorties, they go so quickly. So I just I'm doing the reverse as far as yarn. I'm doing the light color for the contrast, so I'll do the contrast here and on the toe, and then the rest of the sock will be in this beautiful orange color. So yeah, this makes me feel really good because I'm using up this yarn. I love to use up my yarn. I like having all the beautiful scraps and leftovers and of the, like little bits of it. But sometimes when I look at how much of that I have, I get a little bit overwhelmed and I'm like, I need to use it. What am I going to use it for? So it always feels good when I can figure out a way how to use yarn over and over again until it's almost gone, which is what I think is going to happen by the time I finish these socks. I can't remember. Oh, I know. I originally knit my daughter a pair of like full-length socks with this Farmfresh Eggs from Flower Hill Fleeces. So this yarn is going to be included in 3 different sock projects by the time I finish with it. So I would say I definitely got my use and money's worth out of this beautiful colorway by my friend Jody. And I actually purchased this off of her last fall because I really thought it was a beautiful fall color, which these socks are right on point, and these will be too for fall, which is coming up very quickly. So the only thing I did differently on this, just as I did in the first pattern, Deb actually writes the cuff as a 1x1, and I like 2x2 because it cinches it in, so I just changed this to a 2x2. Her cast-on stitches are 64 count, and I just went down to a 60 count because I don't have really big feet. My ankles are small, so I want it, and I also have it works better for me to go down in the stitch count. So that's what I did on these as well. And those are the only changes I made to these socks. So yeah, those are moving right along. This is the first one, but I would have been further along on this if I had not cast on my next project, which all of these projects I'm pretty sure I talked about last episode. So my next project is, look at this cute little bag. This is by Whimsy Stitches. I bought this I don't know, 3, 4, maybe more than that years ago. I can't even remember now. Okay, so remember when I was talking about the fletching socks? That's a pattern by Jessica McDonald, and I was talking last week and maybe the week before about how much I wanted to knit those, and I ended up and last week, okay, no, both episodes I was talking about the what yarn do I use, because I don't have, it's a Sportweight pattern and I wasn't comfortable with using the non-nylon Sportweight yarn that I had, which she wrote the pattern for Barrett Wool Co. Woolens yarn, which I actually had some of that, but I was afraid that it would just wear holes into it too quickly, because that's happened to me multiple times. So I decided against that, And I found some TukuWool sock yarn in my stash. So these are the two. And I've changed my mind actually since I talked to you last, because I was going to use a turquoise. I was actually going to use a, for the contrast color, these are Colorwork socks. So for the contrast color, I was going to use my Barrett Wool Co. woolens in the old-fashioned colorway, which is like a very nice rusty orange color. And that's how I started the socks. I cast on and I did like my ribbing in that yarn. And then I got down to where I joined my main color, which was this grayish color. And it was a big difference in gauge between the two. So even though they were both classified as Sportweight yarns, you know how that is. So the orange yarn was just too bulky to use with this, and it just looked ridiculous, and I did not like it. And it also looked very huge, and I thought those are going to be way too big for me. And I should note that I cast on the size adult small. So this pattern is written for 6 different sizes. I think it's like baby, or maybe toddler, child, teen, or something like that. And then adult small, adult medium, and adult large. And I cast on the adult small. So I decided I did not want to use that orange woolen yarn. So I went and I grabbed the other skein of the TukuWool that I had. And I knew originally why I didn't want to use these is because I knew it wouldn't be a high contrast. And I wanted a high contrast. But I thought, you know what? I'd rather have socks that actually hold up and I'm happy with than socks that have a super high contrast. And then I also thought it might be nice just to have a low contrast pair of socks. So let me show you what I have so far. And I actually have a whole sock finished, except for Kitchener stitching the toe shut. And you're probably, okay, so you can see it. It's so dark today. I mean, you can definitely see that there's a contrast there, but it is a very subtle contrast. I don't think even moving it up close is going to make it any better. So I did the pink color for the cuff, the heel, the toe, and then the contrast in the Colorwork. And still, this sock is huge on me. I think I could have done like the teen. Maybe it was toddler, child small, and child large. Maybe that's how the pattern was written. The pattern is on my phone, so I can't check it right now because I'm filming. But I think I could have gone down to a child size. But at the same point, this yarn, although a sport weight, I don't know, it might, I'm not sure. However, I'm fine with it because I decided that these socks would make great slipper socks for the winter. So these are not going to be socks. Most likely these are not going to be socks that I wear out, like in my shoes or boots. I could maybe wear them in my winter boots because they're very bulky, actually. They're very thick and bulky, as you can probably see. And I actually had knitted myself a pair of worsted weight slipper socks probably 6 years ago. They were just a wool blend, so they did wear holes into them. I've had them in my basket of socks I need to darn. And I have not done that. I'm so horrible with that. I really need to get on that, maybe this winter, right? So this will be a nice replacement. It's a very rustic wool. I will say this is, I think one of you commented that you had used the TukuWool for socks, but it was just way too itchy to even wear on your feet because it was scratchy at your ankles. So I will say it is very rustic feeling. I personally like that, and I am not very sensitive. So at least not on my feet. Sometimes, up here, but even up here, I'm not overly sensitive. So I won't have a problem wearing these, but I have decided they're just going to become house slippers or house socks, which will be fine. I don't need them right now, of course, but this winter it'll be nice. And I'm glad I went with the decision, even though these aren't very high contrast colors. I like that it's the same weight of wool, and it's got the, I don't know if I said, but it's this particular base is 20% nylon and 80% finish wool. I cannot find this very easily anymore. I had looked, and I mentioned this last week. It looks like they maybe replaced the Sportweight with a fingering weight, because I was able to find quite a few options if I wanted to use fingering weight, which I would not have any problem. Actually, I might eventually someday purchase some of the fingering weight. I just, you know, I like how sticky it is. I think it would be a great option for Colorwork socks. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens in the future with that. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. So I think it was I'm pretty certain it was another one of you viewers who mentioned that a good option for these socks might be the Peyton's Croy, or some people say Patton's. I used to say Patton's Croy, and then someone corrected me that it was Peyton's because of the way this the way the syllables are, and so it's like a long A sound, Peyton's Croy. So for the last couple of years I call it Peyton's Croy. I don't know what the correct way is to do it, but anyway, the Peyton's Croy yarn, because even though it is classified as a fingering weight yarn, if you would look on the label, it actually works up more like a sport weight. And I've knit multiple pairs of socks with that yarn, and I actually really love it. It's so durable, and I think it holds up great in socks. So next time I'm somewhere that they sell Peyton's Croy, I'm going to look at the options, because I think that would make I think it would be a great match of yarn for this particular sock pattern. I think that it's maybe a little bit finer than this. I could be wrong about that. So, but I feel like it is. So I'm thinking if I did the adult small using the Peyton's Croy, that I would get probably the exact size that I needed. So yeah, Jessica McDonald, fletching socks, and apparently this Colorwork motif, which you really cannot see on my socks, she actually wrote a sweater pattern with this Colorwork motif first, and then the socks were a pattern that she wrote afterward. So now I'm interested in that sweater, the sweater pattern, because as I've said before, I love a good Colorwork sweater pattern. I love Colorwork. I love doing Colorwork, and this is my first pair of Colorwork socks. I don't think I'd want to knit Colorwork socks in regular sock yarn, like a really fine sock yarn or an indie dyed sock yarn, because I don't think it would have enough slip, and I feel like I would maybe have the tendency to tension my yarn too tight. It's super easy for me to tension, and I have knit a lot of Colorwork, so that might be why as well, but like I didn't have any problem tensioning this yarn, this thicker sport weight yarn. Okay, my last new cast on is the Felix cardigan. Look at this awesome bag. I don't know if you guys have Auri where you live, but I found this at Aldi for $15 a couple of months ago. It has a strap that you can put on to sling over your shoulder, which I don't use that. I haven't used it so far. But it has all these pockets. It has a pocket on the inside. It's huge. There's 3 pockets there, 2 over here. I actually usually keep my knitting journal down in here so I can take notes. And it's definitely big enough to hold a sweater project. But this was such a good find. And like I said, they probably don't have them now because it was a couple of months ago that I found this. But they had this color and they had a gray color. And I liked this is like an off-white color. But I thought it would be really fun to maybe do some embroidery on here or buy patches. Like iron-on patches or maybe some buttons, but then part of me also wants to just keep it plain because it's very easy on the eyes to look at when it's just plain. But okay guys, I listened to you all because so last week I was like, I want to knit the Felix cardigan. I have this yarn, but it's an acrylic. It's like all acrylic except for 15%. What does it have in it? I don't even remember. 15% hemp. So it's 85% acrylic, 15% hemp. It's Yarn Bee, Rustic Romantic, in the Okie wheat colorway. And this is something that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. There's the colorway name down there. So I had 4 skeins of it. And I had bought this to make another weekender. And then when I was looking at the yarn a couple of weeks ago, I thought, no, that really needs to be a cardigan. And then I thought it really needs to be a Felix cardigan, because I've been throwing around the idea of knitting a Felix cardigan for probably the last year. I think I've even talked about it on here. I've knit 2 Felix pullovers, really love that pattern. And this is a pattern by Amy Christophers, or I think Savory Knitting is her brand name. But, so I was asking you guys, I have the pullover pattern. Should I just knit that and put in a steek, like a steek line, and then just steek it? Or should I just buy the cardigan pattern, which is what I was kind of leaning towards, because I didn't feel like messing around. Plus, I was concerned with this being an acrylic yarn. Like, I didn't know if this would be good to steek, and I've never steeked before, so I thought that could really be a nightmare. My first steek project is an acrylic yarn. Some of you said that a few of you said that you had steeked acrylic, or I think somebody said cotton before, and it turned out fine. But the majority of you were saying, no, bad idea, just buy the cardigan pattern, especially since you don't want to have to worry about like modifying or doing any math or figuring out any kind of calculations like that, which I didn't, because as I said, could I do those things? Yes, I could. Do I sometimes do that? Yes, I do. But the majority of time when I knit, I just want to knit. I don't want to have to calculate. That's why I pay for patterns. So I bought the cardigan pattern before my video from last week even finished uploading. I was just like, I am doing it. I am just going to buy it and cast on. And let me show you what I have. So this is a raglan, and it is knit top down. And because it's a cardigan, you're not like, so with the pullover, you start by casting on and knitting the, what's this called? This part? I am like totally blanking right now. The neckband, there we go. But with this, with the cardigan, I think that the neck band is knit at the same time as the button band. That's what I'm gathering. And so this pattern and the pullover pattern, it's a very simple pattern, but I really like this nice detail along the raglan increases. You have that on both sides. And as I have said in the past, I am more inclined to wear my basic knits than my more colorful knits. So yeah, I don't know. This is what we got. And I decided to knit the smallest size. I think in the pullover I knit, for the first one I knit size 2. The second one I think I knit size 3, or somewhere between 2 and 3. But I knit those in wool yarn, non-superwash, so I knew that there wasn't a chance of them stretching really. Like it was going to be minimal stretching. However, with this, because this is almost all acrylic, I knew, and it's superwash, I knew that it was going to have some stretchiness to it. So I didn't want anything oversized, so I knit the smallest size. The pattern calls for a size 10 for the main body. I did swatch, and I got the exact gauge, which was 14 stitches per 4 inches. So I thought, well, that's great, because I love when that happens, when you gauge swatch and you get it the first time. That's just like so wonderful, because I don't like gauge swatching anyway, so it's so nice when it works out the first time. Another thing I wanted to mention, because multiple viewers have mentioned this to me. So most of the time, the problem I have with knitting garments is that I knit them based upon my full bust measurement, and then they're often too big for me. And then I don't wear them because they're too big and they look sloppy. there were multiple people that had suggested that instead of measuring across my full bust, that I actually do my upper bust, which is like under the armpits and around. And so I did that for this sweater, and going by those measurements, I should have like 4 inches of positive ease in this. But again, I'll probably have more because of the nature of the material of this, like this yarn. So yes, I'm using the called for needles and knitting the smallest size. Let me see if I can try this on without like pulling the project off the needles. I still haven't gotten needle stoppers. I need to do that. I just haven't like placed any orders to, well, that's not true because I'm going to show you something here in a little bit. I just haven't done it yet. Okay. Here we go. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so perfect. I haven't tried this on yet. This is going to be so perfect once it has like the neckline and the button band on. And it's not fully pulled out because I have it on the needle. So I think this is going to be exactly the way I want it. I'm so excited now looking at it because like I said, I haven't tried it on up until this point. I just thought I'm just going to keep knitting. And then I'll just make sure whatever I pick up for the neckline cinches this in a bit so that it's not like sloppy looking. So yeah, this is it. And I love this color. Again, it's, I feel like it's more gold yellow in real life than it's showing up on my camera. But this is going to be a great color. I love this color. And it's going to be great for fall. So this is a very exciting project. I love it. And it's so easy and it goes so fast. Now I got to get it off. Got to shimmy out of it. Because I'm at the point now where I'm just knitting and purling back and forth. So I'm just knitting and purling back and forth across the body. I have my armholes on hold, and I will do those after I finish the body, just so I can get, like, put it on and get the full aspect of it before I decide. Well, actually, I'll knit the arms before I even finish the body because I want to make sure that it's a good length. What else was I going to say? Oh, I know what I was going to say. So I used to hate purling because I always knit English style. Okay, so that's not a lie. I could actually do the knit stitch continental style, but anytime I tried to do the purl stitch continental style, I just got all messed up and it was horrible and my gauge was big and it was sloppy. So over the winter this past year, I decided that I wanted to practice. I knew how to knit continental style. I wanted to practice and get better at it because it's just a faster way of knitting. And it feels like it flows better. Okay, so I did some investigating on how to purl in the continental style. And I think I read about the Norwegian purl. There was some kind of special way to do it. So it was almost like you were knitting the stitch, but you were kind of doing it. I don't even remember how exactly it was because it's been a while. So I tried that for a while, but my hands it didn't flow. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to practice purling continental style. And now it's like, I have no problem doing it, which makes me really happy. There's still a few different like combination stitches that I have a hard time doing continental, and then I'll sometimes have to just switch back to using my right hand to manipulate the yarn. But because of that, the whole reason I'm telling you that is because of that, it doesn't bother me to purl, because this is knit a row, purl a row, because it's stockinette. And at one point in my life, I would have not liked that, but now it does not bother me at all. So that's fantastic. I'm enjoying this. Okay, so that is all I have to show as far as projects go, but now I want to show some happy mail that I got. You guys know it takes a lot for me to buy yarn, and it has to, Okay, so I wasn't always like that, but for the last several years, I've been trying to be really conscientious about what yarn I buy because I have so much. So I want to use what I have before I just go and buy more. It's very hard because there's lots of beautiful yarn out there, lots of beautiful yarn. However, so a couple of episodes ago, I was talking about the Fireside Blanket by Lucy of Attic 24 and how I had seen Danny of Little Bobbin's Knits podcast talk about hers that she had just crocheted. And this is a crochet pattern, by the way. And I absolutely loved it. But I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to weave in all those ends. That's so many ends to weave in. And then you guys were so encouraging to me and enabling, and you were like, we can tell you love it, and if you love it, you're gonna finish it, and it's not gonna bother you to weave in the ends, or just set aside dedicated time, like once a week or every morning, to weave in a few ends. And I was like, that is so true. Life is short. Let's just buy the kit and knit the blanket. So I didn't just buy one kit. Oh no, I didn't. Now I had to order this. These kits are sold by Wool Warehouse. Okay, so this is coming, that's Wool Warehouse is based out of the UK. So, all right, they always ship their stuff in these little drawstring baggies. But this is the yarn. This is the kit to make the Fireside Blanket. So you get all of the yarn that you need, which I think is, how many? Let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so 16. It looks like, no, not 16. Okay, you get 12. You get 12 different skeins of yarn, 12 different colors. Another thing that really pushed me to ordering this is that so many of you had said that you had used this Stylecraft Highland Heathers DK yarn before, and even though it is a 100% acrylic yarn, you were saying, multiple of you said how it's such a nice acrylic yarn to work with. And I have to say, just by touching the skeins, I can't even, like, I don't know that I would say, oh yeah, this is an acrylic yarn, or at least not 100%. Maybe I would probably think this was like an acrylic wool blend. It kind of reminds me of Lion Brand Wool Ease, which is like a 20% wool, 80% acrylic yarn. It's very similar to that, I would say. But these colors are so beautiful. So who wants to knit with me? Who wants to knit a Fireside Blanket with me? I mean, I should have put them in a pretty basket, but see, beautiful. And this is what the blanket looks like. So it's all these granny squares of different sizes in the middle, and then you do the border on the outside, which looks like it's just like a granny stripes using double crochets. So yeah, I love that I get the pattern printed out because it is a free pattern online. I'm pretty sure this is a free pattern. If you go to Lucy's website, her blog, you will see that she has a lot of different tutorials and patterns on there for various different crocheted items, but it's nice that I have it all printed out and I don't have to worry about referring to a blog post and pulling it up on my phone. Okay, so, okay, that's the Fireside Blanket kit. But I did say I didn't buy just that, right? Guys, I bought something else too. Because when I was on there looking for this kit, I found another blanket kit that I absolutely fell in love with. And these are very reasonably priced. I think they're like 35 euros, which comes out to like 43 US dollars for a blanket worth of yarn. So I bought the kit to make the cottage ripple blanket, which looks like this. So it's just very simple, like the wave, the crochet wave, It reminds me of when I first learned to crochet and I made an Afghan like that. And I hate the colors of that. Actually, that Afghan, I made that Afghan when I was on bed rest. So with my son Ian, I went into preterm labor at 21 weeks. As you can imagine, that is not a good time to go into labor. 21 weeks pregnant, I went into preterm labor. So they put me on a bunch of medicine and they put me flat on my back on the couch, like flat on my back. I was not allowed to do anything but get up and go to the bathroom and to get a shower once a day. My mom, thank the Lord, my parents lived next door because Brad worked. And at that time, he was working like outside of the home. So he wasn't even working from home because that was, Ian's like 20 now. So that was 20 years ago. My mom would come up every day and she would make me meals and she would do our laundry and she just took care of us. So, but during that time, I was a crocheter at that point. I wasn't knitting at that point. So I just started a crocheted blanket and it was a ripple like this, but I made it with 3 different colors and they were the colors that were very in back then, which was burgundy and off-white and forest green. And so I don't like the colors of that blanket now, but I have to say that blanket has been well worn. It is well worn. So these colors speak my love language. They're so bright and beautiful. And so I am looking forward to this. And I actually might start this one before I start the fireside blanket because this one, I know this one's going to be super easy. Still going to have ends to weave in because it looks like you're switching colors every 2 rows. But I'm just going to crochet those in as I go. So I don't think it will be a big deal. But let me show you the colors. So it looks like 12, 15. So it looks like I got 15 skeins of yarn, and this is the same yarn base. So the Stylecraft. Oh, this is Stylecraft Spectrum. So they're just nice, vibrant, bright colors. So yes, I have 2 blanket patterns to work on. So thank you for the enabling that you all did. I appreciate it. But the purchasing did not stop there because while I was on there, I thought, oh, so many viewers had told me that Drops was running a sale on Wool Warehouse. I should check out and see which yarns are on sale. So I looked at the Drops Bell, which is a yarn that I really like to use for my summer knits. I've knit multiple summer tops, and I'm done. I'm like done with summer knits. So I thought, no, I have some like summery yarn. I have 2 sweaters worth or 2 tops worth of summery yarn that I will use next spring and summer. So I don't want to buy any more of that. But I looked and I found that Drops Fabel print, which is their sock yarn, was on sale for like, I think it worked out to $2 and some change in US dollars. So I bought some. I've never used this before, but I was like, oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Okay, so I will put all the well, actually, these don't even have names. They just have color numbers. But they're 50-gram skeins, so I bought 2. I could have gotten away with 1, but like, these are going to be like $5 socks. 224 yards per skein, and it's 75% wool and 25% polyamide. So I got this really pretty purples, and then got some blues, oh, this is so pretty. These next 2 are my favorite. How fun is that? Look at that. Love that color. Can't wait to make these. And then this last one is also super fun. Great color combination. So yeah. So, I mean, but honestly, all of that yarn, 2 blanket kits, enough yarn to make at least 4 pairs of socks, and that's if I make like full length, really long socks. And then shipping from the UK, I think I paid $120 US dollars. So that, in my opinion, is very reasonable, and I could totally justify that. And I didn't need more sock yarn. I have a whole bucket of sock yarn right here, sock yarn that is indie dyed, and then I have a couple of skeins of like Regia and Opal sock yarn that I've just had in my stash. So I didn't need sock yarn, but when I saw those, and I do love to make socks as gifts. I make a lot of socks for gifts, and so I saw that and I thought, I cannot pass that up. Like, it was so reasonably priced. And so that's how I justified the socks. Not that I have to explain this to you. But then with the Afghan kits, I was like, I have scraps of acrylic yarn, but I don't have full skeins of acrylic yarn other than red, green, and white skeins that I bought to make Christmas stockings with, to knit Christmas stockings with. That is the only full skein acrylic yarn that I currently have. So I thought that is such a great price. I was so impressed with that, and I'm impressed with just the way that the yarn feels, which so many of you had said it's a great yarn to work with. It does not feel like acrylic at all. So I'm really excited to do those projects. And you know, I love knitting. Knitting is so I was a crocheter for many, many years before I knit, but I love knitting. The majority of my fiber arts time is spent knitting. However, I really enjoy throwing in crochet projects because they're so fast and they just feel different in your hand. Like the whole mechanism of how you hold, like, you know, you're holding a hook rather than two needles, and you just work it. It just works differently. So I feel like it just feels really good to do a crochet project every now and then, just to throw one in. So I'm really excited about having these two Afghan projects to work on over the winter. So I don't know if any of you want to join me. I have had people ask me to do make-alongs or knit-alongs in the past, like to host them. I don't think I would be a good host. If you come over to my house and knit with me, I would be a good hostess that way, because I would make you tea or coffee and probably some muffins or something. But to host an online knit along, I'm just not sure that I would keep up with it or maintain the online like gumption. Let's do it. You know, I just don't think, because I don't think I would engage enough. So I'm not sure that I will ever host a knit along. I'm open to it, but I don't know. I would rather just say, hey, if you guys want to knit Afghans, let's do it. And then maybe I'll come up with some sort of hashtag. I don't know, just so we can see what each other's doing, which I guess that's what a knit along is, right? I just don't want to do any of the Ravelry knit along stuff where you have to get in and moderate your forum and like the chat and all of that, because I know I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do well with that. It would be too much stuff online. So yeah, anyway, that's it, guys. I'm super excited about my making right now, and just overall in my life, I'm just feeling pretty creatively energized, which I always love. You know, we all go through those ups and downs with our creative energy, and mine has been pretty high for several months, which is really nice. And sometimes it's knitting, sometimes it's crocheting, sometimes it is gardening, sometimes it's baking, sometimes it's watercolor painting. Like, it does vary, but I'm just really, I embrace it. I love it. I try not to embrace perfectionism in my making, because as soon as I do that, I start to feel stressed. I start to feel pressure. So it's kind of like, just go with it. Just do what makes you happy in your making, even if other people don't understand it or if other people don't care for it. When it comes down to it, I mean, we're really making, like, we should be making what makes us feel good and what gives us joy. And then we can share it with others, right? Because if we would just hoard that to ourselves, then that wouldn't be good, which is why I really enjoy knitting socks for people, because People love to get hand knitted socks, at least the people that I give them to. That's another story all in itself, because you learn as a maker, you learn who to gift your knits to and who not to gift your knits to. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely believe that you should make things that make you happy and not worry about other people's opinions of them. But at the same time, I think that we should also share love and joy through the things that we make, however that may look. That's my philosophical insight for this podcast episode. I'm so thankful that I can do this, that I can share the things that I make, and I appreciate that there are people out there who are interested in it. And I also think it's so cool that we can kind of like chat and craft together, even though we're not doing it in real life. I know that's how I feel when I watch my favorite podcasters. I just feel cozy, and I feel like, oh, this is like a nice visit with my podcasting friends. So I hope you guys feel the same way when you watch my videos. And if you don't mind, please give this video a like if you did indeed like it. If you didn't, then please don't give it a like, because I don't want you just to like it just because I told you to. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please consider doing so if you like my content. That is all for this week. Have a wonderful time with all of your knitting and making and creative endeavors, and I will see you next week. Bye.